Now, you'll be aware, because we heard some of the fine Stuart Broad documentary last week. We have a cricket YouTube channel here on talkSPORT now, and John Norman has popped in to see us. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon to you guys. I've just booked Sam Ellard's flight out to the Caribbean.
Oh.
Have you?
3.5 weeks he's going out there for.
You're desperate to get rid of him, aren't you?
You should have put your own flight out.
Well, I did say, I'm basically juggling children and watching the weather come in.
Yeah.
And sending him off for three weeks in the Caribbean.
Oh, blimey.
Nice.
He's
All
dropped
right,
on there.
Yes, I'm suffering withdrawal. We haven't had cricket for 3 days.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's
I mean,
what's happened to the game?
Good news.
Not enough cricket.
Good news, everybody, because if 48 matches in 6.5 weeks, which of course came to an end on Sunday, isn't enough for you, India tomorrow play. Let me just check my notes. Australia
Yeah.
tomorrow in a 5-match T20 series.
It's such a shame because it was a great final. I mean, it was a fantastic event and everything, and that must take it out of the players. What do they need to be doing this 4 days later? They don't need it.
They don't need it. And, I mean, well, we'll wait and find out tomorrow, won't we? Whether there's spectators, it's full houses in the
Well, it
five.
will be.
And if so, then fair enough. But, we have kind of been here before. I mean, this is the 4th time in the last 12 months that India and Australia have played a series in India. And if you look at the way that cricket is, so there's this kind of feeling about cricket, cricket's all right, full houses at Lord's and in India. But the problem is, scratch past the surface, essentially, all of international cricket is based on India, Australia and England playing each other. Now, earlier this year, India announced their opponents for the next 5 years, right? Till 2028. They play 88 games between now and 2028. And 39 of them are against either England or Australia.
Right.
Which is slightly ridiculous. But we have, of course, been here before because this time last year, England just won the... I mean, imagine it. England win the T20 World Cup. They can't even celebrate because the next day they've got to fly from Melbourne to Adelaide to play a 3-match ODI series. And funnily enough, they lost it 3-0.
Yeah. It's too much. I don't know what you can do, though. The only thing that stops this is, as you say, crowds and TV figures. And if they're there, then this is just going to carry on like this.
So just to give you an idea, okay, so we've had all the top nations in the world playing cricket for the past 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. Now, if this is a football World Cup, all the players go back to their domestic clubs. And, okay, you could probably say that they're getting rinsed as well. I'd say they probably are. But essentially, they'll have 6 weeks off before the start of the season. And they'll have some light training and they'll get back into things. Essentially, on Tuesday, England fly to the Caribbean for a white ball tour. New Zealand have just arrived in Bangladesh. And as I just mentioned, India are now playing Australia. Now that series finishes on the 3rd of December. And then India are playing South Africa in South Africa for a 5-week tour. That series starts on the 10th of December. They then come back and guess what? They're playing England in a 5-match test series, which starts 2 weeks after they arrive back.
How can the players do anything but burn out?
This is why they have to think of themselves, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like a catch-22. I kind of see it, when they talk about the airline industry and they say, well, planes only make money when they're in the air.
Yeah.
And I kind of see that with cricket.
Yeah.
They only make money when they're playing. And, of course, you've got this weird catch-22. So there's a big story this week about the 100. And the feeling is that the success of the 100 partly relies on being able to pay the big bucks to the players. So essentially, they need to sell the game to pay the players. And it's this never-ending spiral between the players earning more and the broadcast rights are costing more. So they need to play more, but then that burns out the players.
Yeah.
Something at some point's got to give.
I don't mind the 100. I think it's a bit unnecessary, but I'll watch it if it's on. But the fact they've got terrestrial coverage does make a difference. It's quite important, I think.
Expect a story about that in the next 24 hours, by the way.
Oh,
really?
okay.
Okay. Well,
Now,
if they lose that would be a problem.
we're going to have an innovation in when we're out in the West Indies, which is this stop clock.
Yes.
So
Get on with the game.
Very good
not
idea.
stop clock. Stop clock.
Well, that's how I wrote it down originally on your crib sheet. So well done.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, tell us what it is, John.
Well, it's so essentially England's tour of the West Indies is going to be the first tour where we are going to have this stop clock.
Yes.
And essentially, from the moment an end of over occurs, the fielding team has 60 seconds to be in position to bowl the next over. you've got this ridiculous situation where essentially 50 over cricket is going on for longer than 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for the 100, actually, and this is a problem, is that it essentially takes less than 3 hours. T20 even takes over 4 hours in this day and age. That's ridiculous.
It's not just between overs in T20, especially. I love the IPL, but it can be like sort of one over can take 10 minutes because they're changing the field every ball, and every ball means something. But it's too much.
Well, exactly. But personally, as much as I'd like to see this brought in, I do think it's a good idea. The idea is that if you fall foul of this new law, you're docked five runs.
Okay.
So you've got what often happens with cricket is traditionally is that you lose percentage of your fee, but of course.
Yeah.
In the heat of the battle, you kind of earn enough money.
It's fines over points in football, isn't it? It's the same argument,
exactly.
really. Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But why can't they bring it into Test cricket? This is the area because at the end of the day, whether you're sitting there watching 8 hours of cricket or 8.5 hours of cricket, you're still seeing your 100 overs, right? Unless England are batting. With Test cricket, you pay an extortionate amount of money, and you do not get your 90 overs. I can count on one hand the amount of days I've reported for talkSPORT, and we've had 83 overs, and that's even with the extra half an hour.
But they go off, and it's like beautiful sunshine. You think,
Well,
come on, just play till you've done the 90 overs, and that's it.
Well, I think this idea, if they brought it in, would actually benefit Test cricket more than limited overs cricket.
Well, John, people can go to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube page.
Absolutely.
So your Stuart Broad interview was very good. So that's up there, I'm sure, for people to enjoy. But you got other stuff coming up, I take it? Yeah,
we've got loads of interviews lined up. Obviously, Sam is going to be out there in the Caribbean over the next month or so recording some stuff. And, Bumble was on Breakfast yesterday. That's up there on the YouTube site as well. So it's a good way to just listen back to a lot of the content that goes out on talkSPORT. And hopefully we get some cricket commentary up on the YouTube site as well. So
I'm prepared
going
to
on.
do a sweary Goldbridge-style watch-along every time England are playing.
Wow, imagine that would be X-rated, wouldn't it? Blimey, that would be very good.
Only we thought of that before the World Cup.
Yeah, maybe we should do that one day. Cheers, John. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
John Norman there, our cricket correspondent. Go and check it out, talkSPORT Cricket YouTube page for all the cricket content, and download and subscribe to the Following On podcast. We shouldn't forget about that as well, with Harmy and John and the team. Bring you that on a regular basis.
Paul Hawksby and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.